As the sun dipped below the horizon, the trees transformed into giants, their gnarled fingers scratching at the fading light. The air, heavy and still, held the smell of damp earth and decay. A lone figure walked deeper, each step a crunch on the path. He wasn't supposed to be here, not after dark. Locals whispered of the cabin, hidden deep within. A place of shadows and sorrow, they said. He scoffed at their tales, superstition, but now as doubt crept in like the rising mist, his heart thumped against his ribs, a drum in the stillness. The woods were alive, he could feel it, watching, waiting. He pushed on, drawn by an unseen force towards the legend. As twilight faded, darkness seeped in, thick and heavy. He stopped, listening. A twig snapped, his breath caught in his throat. He was being watched. It loomed before him, a silhouette against the dying light. The cabin. Walls, crooked and warped, seemed to sag under some unseen weight. Windows, like empty eyes, stared back at him. He approached slowly, each step echoing in the silence. Boards creaked underfoot, protesting his intrusion. A shiver ran down his spine. He felt a presence here, cold and ancient. He reached out, hesitant, and touched the rough-hewn door. It felt icy against his palm, as if the wood itself was drained of warmth. Taking a deep breath, steeling himself, he pushed. The door groaned open, revealing a darkness so complete it felt like a living thing. The smell hit him then, a musty, suffocating odour, like something long dead. The air inside was heavy, oppressive. He stepped inside. Darkness swallowed him whole. He fumbled for his flashlight, the beam a weak defiance against the encroaching shadows. Dust motes danced in the pale light, swirling like tiny phantoms. The air hung thick and stagnant, filled with the ghosts of memories. He could almost hear them, faint whispers on the edge of hearing. A sense of unease settled upon him, heavy and cold. He shone his light around. Furniture, draped in sheets, loomed like shrouded figures. The air grew colder, biting at exposed skin. He shivered, pulling his jacket tighter. He moved deeper into the cabin, each step hesitant. The floorboards groaned under his weight as if warning him back, but he pushed on, drawn by a curiosity he couldn't explain. The flashlight beam flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. They writhed and twisted, taking on grotesque shapes. His heart hammered in his chest. He stopped, holding his breath. Silence pressed in, broken only by the sound of his own blood pounding in his ears. The shadows seemed to pulsate with a life of their own. He felt a prickle of fear crawl up his spine. He moved the flashlight, trying to chase away the darkness, but the shadows followed, clinging to the edges of the light. He was being watched. He was sure of it. He thought of the stories, the whispers of something sinister lurking in these woods. He had dismissed them as folklore, but now, he wasn't so sure. He stood frozen, listening. The silence was absolute, suffocating. Not even the wind dared to whisper through the trees outside. He was trapped in a bubble of quiet, cut off from the world. The silence was more than an absence of sound. It was a presence in itself, heavy and oppressive. He could almost feel it pressing down on him, squeezing the air from his lungs. He strained to hear, desperate for any sound to break the oppressive stillness. But there was nothing, only the frantic beat of his own heart, a drumbeat of fear in the silence. He felt a cold sweat break out on his skin. He had to get out of here. This place was wrong, evil. But his feet felt rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear. And then he heard it. A faint sound, barely audible. A whisper carried on the edge of the silence. He held his breath, straining to hear. It came again, closer this time. A sigh, a murmur, a voice on the wind. He whipped around, shining his light in every direction, but there was nothing there, just the shadows, dancing in the corners of his vision. He tried to convince himself it was his imagination, but the sound came again, a low moan that sent chills down his spine. He felt a cold hand close around his heart. Panic welled up inside him, threatening to consume him. He had to get out, now! He stumbled back, his foot catching on something on the floor. He fell, landing hard on the wooden planks. The flashlight slipped from his grasp, tumbling into the darkness. He lay there for a moment, heart pounding, trying to catch his breath. And that's when he heard it again. Clearer this time. Closer. A voice, whispering his name.